It was a day that would leave an indelible mark on aviation history, a routine journey that spiraled into catastrophe, sending ripples of shock around the world. Air India's Flight AY71, a cutting-edge Boeing 787 Dreamliner, crashed just after departing from Ahmedabad. What began as an ordinary morning was shattered in seconds, leaving the world stunned. Out of 242 souls on board, only one survived, a solitary glimmer of hope amid overwhelming loss. The disaster claimed not just passengers and crew, but also innocent lives on the ground, deepening the heartbreak. The Dreamliner, once hailed as a triumph of modern engineering, was suddenly thrust into the glare of a worldwide investigation, its safety now under intense scrutiny. First responders rushed to the scene, battling flames and chaos in a desperate search for survivors. But the devastation was immense, leaving little hope and casting a heavy pall over the nation. Demands for answers echoed worldwide. Indian authorities acted swiftly, grounding all Dreamliners in the country and launching urgent, thorough inspections to safeguard passengers. Boeing voiced deep regret and promised full support for the investigation as teams of U.S. and global experts prepared to join the search for answers. The incident sent shockwaves through the aviation world, sparking urgent questions about the Dreamliner's safety features, design, and the systems meant to protect those in flight. For grieving families and the aviation community, the loss was unfathomable. The pressure to uncover the truth and prevent future tragedies was immense. As the world watched in anticipation, investigators soon turned to the aircraft's black box, searching for vital clues to determine if this was a rare accident or evidence of deeper issues within the Dreamliner's design or operation. In the aftermath, the future of the Dreamliner and of air travel itself hung in the balance as the world awaited answers that could redefine the next era of aviation. In the United States, transportation officials moved swiftly into action, recognizing the gravity of the situation and the need for clear communication. They faced a delicate balance, addressing widespread public concern while maintaining a steadfast commitment to facts, not speculation or rumor. Secretary Sean Duffy and FAA Acting Administrator Chris Ruccolo began by offering heartfelt condolences to the families and communities affected by the tragedy, but they also made it clear that any regulatory action would be based on solid evidence, not on fear or public pressure. The officials took a firm stance against the spread of misinformation, warning the public to be wary of rumors circulating on social media platforms. They urged everyone to remain patient and allow investigators, working diligently in India, to uncover the facts before drawing conclusions. Throughout the press conferences, officials consistently reassured the public that aviation safety remained their highest priority, and they promised that if any systemic issues were identified, decisive and immediate action would be taken to address them. Their message was clear. There would be no hasty groundings or reactionary measures, only decisions rooted in data and thorough analysis. The United States also pledged full cooperation with international investigators, promising to adopt any safety recommendations that emerged from the ongoing investigation, underscoring the truly global nature of aviation safety and the interconnectedness of the world's skies. This measured approach was designed to prevent unnecessary disruption to air travel, while also maintaining and strengthening public trust in the aviation system. The coordinated response from U.S. officials set a tone of calm, transparency, and international cooperation for the days and weeks ahead. Around the world, regulators and the public watched closely as authorities resisted knee-jerk reactions, instead focusing on a careful, methodical investigation. This tragedy would become a critical test of international cooperation, regulatory rigor, and the ability of nations to work together in the face of crisis. Ultimately, the future of the Dreamliner and the safety of global air travel would depend on what investigators would uncover in the days to come. In a move watched closely by the entire aviation industry, the FAA announced it would not ground the U.S. fleet of Boeing 787 Dreamliners, despite mounting anxiety and public concern after the recent Air India crash, which had shaken confidence in the aircraft's safety. The agency explained that, after a thorough review, there was no evidence of a widespread safety defect that would justify such a drastic and disruptive move as grounding the entire fleet. Grounding an entire aircraft model is always considered a last resort, reserved only for situations where there are clear, imminent risks to passenger safety that cannot be managed by other means. The FAA's decision allowed major airlines like United and American to keep flying their Dreamliners, sparing them from massive disruptions to schedules and operations that could have affected thousands of travelers. The agency emphasized that safety remained the top priority, reassuring the public that it would act immediately if any new evidence or credible threats to safety emerged during the ongoing investigation. This cautious, measured approach balanced the need for constant vigilance with the practical realities of global aviation, where grounding a fleet can have far-reaching economic and logistical consequences. The FAA's stance reflected not only confidence in its own investigative process, but also the importance of international cooperation, as agencies around the world work together to share data and expertise. For airlines, this decision offered a temporary reprieve, allowing operations to continue. But the pressure to find answers and ensure passenger safety remained as intense as ever. The fate of the Dreamliner now rested on the findings of the ongoing investigation, with every detail under scrutiny by experts and regulators alike. Around the world, passengers, airlines, and regulators waited anxiously for clarity, fully aware that the consequences of the investigation's outcome could be enormous for the future of aviation. Investigators quickly zeroed in on a chilling possibility. Both engines on the Dreamliner lost power moments after takeoff. Such a dual-engine failure is almost unheard of, pointing to a single point of failure, possibly in the cockpit. Attention turned to the engine fuel control switches, which had a known vulnerability. They could be accidentally moved, shutting down both engines. The FAA had warned about this risk in a 2018 bulletin, but it was only advisory, not mandatory. The investigation now focused on why this known hazard hadn't been fully addressed. The link between the old warning and the crash became the central question. The tragedy exposed the limits of relying on recommendations instead of enforceable fixes. The Air India crash highlighted a critical gap in aviation safety, the difference between advisory bulletins and mandatory directives. The FAA's Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin, SAIB, warned of the fuel switch risk but did not require action. In contrast, an Airworthiness Directive, AD, is legally binding. No aircraft can fly until the fix is made. The 2018 warning about the Dreamliner switches was only an SAIB, leaving airlines to decide whether to act. This regulatory nuance is now under fierce scrutiny. The crash suggests that recommendations, even for catastrophic risks, may not be enough. Airlines may delay fixes if not legally required, influenced by cost and complexity. The tragedy is forcing a re-examination of when a warning should become a mandate. The industry must now ask, are advisory bulletins enough to keep passengers safe? The crash of AI-171 is a stark reminder of the importance of an airline's safety management system, or SMS. A strong SMS means treating every risk, mandatory or not, with utmost seriousness. Air India's failure to address the fuel switch issue flagged in 2018 raises tough questions about its internal safety culture. A proactive airline would have installed guards or improved training, not waited for a mandate. The tragedy shows that minimum compliance isn't enough. True safety requires vigilance and initiative. Airlines must weave safety into every level of their operation, not just follow the rules. The lesson advisory warnings should be treated as seriously as directives. Lives depend on it. The Air India crash has reignited global concerns about Boeing's safety and quality control. Memories of the 737 MAX disasters and the long grounding that followed are fresh in the public's mind. New technical issues with Dreamliners, even if unrelated, have fueled anxiety and kept Boeing in the headlines. The FAA insists there's no reason to ground the fleet yet, but public trust is shaken. Boeing faces the challenge of restoring confidence through transparency and real change. The investigation is a test of whether Boeing has learned from past mistakes. Each new incident adds to the pressure, making trust harder to rebuild. The outcome will shape not just Boeing's future, but the entire industry's approach to safety. The crash's impact was immediate. Air India canceled Dreamliner flights and ramped up safety checks, causing major travel disruptions. Passengers worldwide are now anxious about flying on the 787, closely watching updates from regulators. The Dreamliner is a backbone of long-haul travel, so any hint of a fleet-wide grounding threatens chaos for airlines and travelers alike. U.S. carriers like United and American face huge risks if the investigation uncovers a systemic flaw. The industry is holding its breath, knowing the investigation's outcome could reshape global travel. The findings will determine not just the Dreamliner's fate, but future safety standards and relationships between manufacturers, regulators, and airlines. This tragedy is a turning point, forcing a hard look at how safety is managed and enforced. The lessons learned will echo through aviation for years to come.